Hello and welcome to Experience Boost. My name is Archive.
Kion here.
And we're talking about the Meltan trailers that came out today. So Meltan is a cute little metallic creature with, I keep saying bolt, I know that's wrong. It's a nut for a head with a little eye inside and a little electrical wiring in the back. Who's getting showcased in Pokemon Go, and they're talking about being able to put him over in Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu when it comes out. Now, first off, I do have to apologize to everyone that I was completely wrong with my theory. Weeks ago, when this thing was first shown off, before they'd given it a name and given it some additional information, I actually had a theory that Meltan was the modern embodiment of MissingNo, the glitch Pokemon from Generation 1. Just because of how it was presented, how it showed up in the game, it seemed really odd. It turned into Ditto, various things like that. And maybe there's some inspiration still there, but it does not seem to be the case any longer based on what they've described in the couple of trailers that came out today.
I mean, I was really hoping that was going to be it. Not going to lie, I really liked the theory. And, you know, I still personally in my heart hope that maybe one of the creators will say because honestly, look at the design for this thing. It looks like they threw together a bunch of different sprites and were like, let's just have fun with something. So who knows? Maybe the inspiration was based in the beginning of MissingNo, but I think they probably expanded a little bit more on its legend. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about today, is kind of look at maybe what Meltan is, and kind of seeing maybe the potential and the importance that it has in the Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu games.
Yeah, so because we did some additional research, tried to find just whatever we could on, are there any myths out there, legends, history about living metal, anything like that, right? Nothing really concrete came up. I know that Generation 7, which this seems to be part of as opposed to being part of Generation 8, which, would be coming out next year, Generation 7 had a lot of alchemical aspects to it. Alchemy and a lot of symbols and things tied to it that people were analyzing. There's lots of videos out there on that. This could kind of be related to that, I suppose, but nothing concrete. Couldn't really find anything, so all we really know is what they give us in the trailer, that he's a little liquid metal body with a nut for a head and an eye in the middle of that head and a little electrical wire in the back, and no other information. There is one big surprise which they kind of show off in one of the trailers, and we'll talk about that here in a bit. But I thought it'd be good just to kind of talk about first just our reaction to the trailers, what your favorite part is, and then we'll just go from there.
Sounds good to me.
So what was your favorite part, Kion? Which trailer and which part of the trailer?
Oh, I'm trying to think. I think one of the biggest parts that caught me and that still is intriguing me is right when Professor Oak shows that mystery box, right? And he's stating about that he was studying that Ditto, which first of all, I guess I never really realized that when Ditto transformed, like it takes on the actual biological components of a Pokemon. I think that's really cool. But then he kind of mentions in there that it's just a rusted piece of metal, right? It's like the components of a Meltan, but it's not really a Meltan. It's just a rusted piece of metal. And that really intrigued me to see kind of what, and later on in the trailer, as Willow gets the box, there are certain conditions that need to be met so that the Meltan becomes a Meltan, right? And that made me think of just, as I was listening to it, of stories where, there's certain conditions or water that, different things in different mythology where things get turned to gold or metal gets purified. And so I wonder if that's going to play a big part in the game, where maybe you'll get the box early on and you'll have to wait to be able to get it to a certain point to where it becomes a Meltan. Because I don't know, I think that's a weird detail that they would add in there.
So you're talking about in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go
in
Eevee.
Let's Go, that's what I mean,
Okay, and I have some thoughts about how you'll get Meltan. They actually talk about that a little bit in the trailers, but as for my favorite part, I actually was more partial to the live action trailer that they did.
I thought that one was cool too.
That really was just so, I wasn't expecting it, and it really made these creatures so much more endearing. When they first show up and the first bunch of 4 there kind of just smack heads and fall over, and then one's eating a fork, and they're so, honestly, they're adorable. They're adorable little metal creatures. They seem so weird when I first saw them.
Remind you of a much cuter unknown or something like that?
Yeah, right? They really do. And my favorite part, honestly, I think, is when there's two of them rolling a Pokeball back and forth. And I just think it's great. The animation is really awesome. I don't know why they chose to do it this way, but it's pretty cool. So I think I really liked that one a lot.
I agree. I thought that was a really fun one too. I thought it's cool how they did 2 trailers and how it just expanded on the mystery, and both ones took different aspects of what Meltan is, and it kind of gives a curiosity from either way, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So what possible typings do you think Meltan has? I'm going to go on a limb and say that it probably is at least part steel.
I would agree. I would definitely say part steel. So I think it might have a second typing. I would like to say I had 2 thoughts, just because of the way that it kind of grows at the end of this specific trailer live action one. I have a feeling it's going to become either a fighting type or I've actually had the thought that maybe they'll introduce a new type with it.
Really?
I don't know if they would. I don't know if that'd be a really new thing, but I don't know. They're giving a big push for this Pokemon, and that's something that I think that there could be something new with it. And I don't know, we were talking about the alchemy part of it, and that just made me think maybe there'll be an alchemical type or something like that comes out of it. I don't know.
I mean, you bring up a good point. I can't remember the last time they did such a crazy big reveal and kind of lead up with a mythical Pokemon. I mean, the last one was Zeraora, I believe is how you pronounce his name.
Yep.
And he's in the last movie that came out, but other than that, he didn't get any fancy trailers or, live action. And so they're really going out on a limb to make this happen. But like you said, there was one big secret they kind of showed off at the very end of the trailer. There's a bunch of Meltan hanging out on the floor together. And then what happens is that the screen kind of just flashes, and it shows you the shadow of what seems to be a giant golem-like creature made out of a bunch of Meltan. It's got one big Meltan head, and you see, I think the Meltan head spins, as does its arms, it looks like, the hands.
And it's got a deeper cry.
So it definitely is something bigger. It looks like it either evolves or it has a new form. It kind of makes me think of an artificial. I say artificial because it's made of metal, but I mean it's a Pokemon, so it's not really artificial. It's a lot like Zygarde, maybe, where maybe a bunch of little ones get together and make a big one. There's could be a few different ways that this would happen, but yeah, it's just a really interesting lead up. They add some mystery to it. So they've cleared up some things about Meltan, but they've added this big mystery on it as well. And so I can see what you're saying. Maybe it has an extra typing of fighting. I obviously was going with it could be Steel Psychic, just because it has a floating eye in the middle of its nut of a head. So
That's
true.
true.
That could make sense. I also thought maybe Steel Electric, because it does have some electrical wiring, it seems, as part of its body. But with this whole golem aspect, I honestly don't know. It has to be steel. I feel like it has to be steel, but other than that, it could be a lot of different things. And if they introduced a new typing, that would be really cool. I'm not sure what type they would give it, though. But
I don't either. It was just a thought that I had that came to my head that I thought would be cool. I also thought that maybe a Steel Fairy, just because they're kind of going on the fairy run right now. They're giving a lot of legendaries that kind of aspect.
Yeah. Part of me was like, maybe it's gonna be Steel Poison. Because, when I think liquid metal, I think mercury, which can be hazardous to humans. But so that's kind of what I thought.
When I even looked up a picture of mercury, I mean, the body of Meltan is very similar to that kind of color, and that kind of the way that it moves and stuff like that. It totally looks like mercury.
Yeah. So let's go with story. Pokemon Go doesn't have a story. So, do you think that Meltan will affect the story or be a part of the story in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee?
I do think so. I don't know if it's going to be main storyline, though. I could see it being like a post-game kind of thing. where I mean they've already announced that you can trade your stuff, like you can trade Pokemon Go and everything like that. So I don't think it'll be something like that. So like I don't think it'll unlock like a trading system with Pokemon Go or anything like that. But I do think it'll have a post-game storyline, either just to catch it, or it will introduce the new. I was actually thinking also what I was thinking about, just because my brother, the Mighty Zero, mentioned that like this golem-like figure reminds him of automatons, and that made me think of like Greek mythology and stuff like that. Like, so I was actually thinking that maybe that it would introduce the new region or something like that.
So you think rather than being a Gen 7 Pokemon, it's actually the first of Gen 8?
I do.
And I mean, I think that makes more sense in my mind, but I just know most people are saying, no, it's definitely Gen 7. Because it's in a Gen 7 game. You know, Pokemon Let's Go, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu. So, I mean, I could honestly see it going either way. I really do like how they've been revealing this thing and talking about it. Just because they're adding a lot of mystery, and it's just really, it's super interesting. I thought it was weird when I first saw it, but now that they've been showing it off, and once I see them playing around with Pokeballs and forks and hanging from chandeliers, they just become much more endearing. So I'm looking forward to see what this affects. I personally don't think it'll be affecting the main story, like you said. I don't see them doing that. They don't normally do that with mythical Pokemon. I do think it'll have a side quest attached to it, though. I think that'll kind of increase the desire to get it and put it into Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, to have that side quest factor to it, especially because they're hyping it up, and Professor Oak talks about it as well with Professor Willow. So definitely thinking of a side quest, like you said.
For sure. I was also thinking, I just had a thought. I was also thinking that like it'd be something where you get that box like in the game, like the box that he mentions. I feel like that's a big part of it, and that you're gonna have that like throughout the game, and then like the conditions of it. That I think it's gonna be one of those things that in the game, it's gonna unlock something for later generations. Like it's gonna be revealed to that later generation, either to the new region or some new kind of gameplay. Because usually with the mythical Pokemon, there's only 2 per game per se. So for example, like I know in Sun and Moon, it was like Necrozma was like kind of the mythical creature there, and the Zorora was another mythical Pokemon. So that's why I think this is Gen 8.
Well,
I
see,
feel like
you actually had Magearna.
Oh, that's right.
For Gen 7. So you had Magearna, and you actually had Marshadow. And you had Zorora. So actually, there were 3 mythicals there. Gen 6 also had 3 mythicals, I believe.
So that's why I see it not being a Gen 8, just because they've had a lot of mythical ones for the previous generation already. And I just feel like they're pushing this one. It kind of reminds me, and part of me wonders, it kind of reminds me of a Lucario, how Lucario was portrayed when Gen 4 came out. Like there was a movie that came out before the game. Like I just remember as a kid, like Lucario was a big like face before the Generation 4 games. And so I'm wondering if it's gonna be something similar to that, where Meltan becomes the face for Generation 8.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to see. So speaking of this box, how do you think you're gonna be able to get Meltan, whether in Pokemon Go or in Let's Go? How do you think we'll get it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I do think there's going to be some sort of compatibility component with it. It might be where you have to connect, there'll be a special event where you can go to a like a Pokestop or something like that, and then you pick it up and then you can transfer it over to the game. Or it has to be something similar where Oak has it and sends it over to Willow, and that's when it becomes a Meltan. I can see that being a process. I see it being kind of a combination system, just like they're kind of showing between the 2 professors here. Just because I feel like that's their point, is to try and get Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu to be compatible with Pokemon Let's Go.
Okay, so when I got into Pokemon Go today, there was.
That's what I meant to say, Pokemon Go.
Well, when I got into Pokemon Go today, there was actually an image that popped up that kind of talked a bit about it. So, because you mentioned both in the trailer, it actually does that box opens, and that's when Meltan appears, and then more appear, and then it shuts. And then Professor Oak says that, oh yeah, that box does that. Basically, it opens for a while, and then it will shut, and you can't open it for a little while. So part of me thinks, well, Meltan will be kind of a timed event, right? That this box will show up, like you said, and it's going to open, and you have a moment of time to try to get Meltan, and then it will shut, and that's it for that moment of time. But when I got into Pokemon Go, it showed off this little message talking about the trailers that have been released. And then it specifically says, what's more, Professor Willow needs you to do some special research to seek out the mythical Pokemon Meltan. Look for this special research to begin later this year. So with the special research, currently there's 2 of them going on right now. One so you can get Mew, another one so you can get Celebi. And it's just a list of tasks that you have to do. And there's other special ones that it does as well that kind of do it as a global scale. So it makes it seem that you do have to complete objectives before you even get a chance at Meltan. So I'm going to guess that you do the special research requests and then you get the box. And then that box, I'm still on the fence of whether or not you can use it in Pokemon Go. I'm going to say probably. Yeah, probably. Like you can use it to get Meltan at certain time frames is when it will work. It will open up, like it's eligible to open at certain time frames, and that's when you can try to catch Meltan. Because I'm like, they're not going to let you just get all the Meltans you want. And it wouldn't make sense to have to just trade the box over to Pokemon Let's Go, because then you won't have it in Go anymore. So I think it'll be an item you have, kind of like maybe like an EX raid pass that's only usable at certain points when they deem it acceptable.
For sure. That.
All right, Kion. Well, I think that's all I have to talk about this. I again, just to kind of wrap up and summarize, I loved the trailers. I love how they're rolling out this Pokemon. They've taken him from just being a weird abnormality to something really adorable and endearing, and I'm actually really looking forward to seeing him in both Go and in Let's Go. Any final thoughts that you have on Meltan?
I guess one of the biggest things that I'm really getting intrigued with is with the Pokemon universe is, I mean, obviously they're not going super deep into it, but I mean, with every game we get a little bit more of the lore of the kind of the way the Pokemon life works. And I just love how like we're seeing this interaction like in the trailers between Willow and Oak, and we're learning more about their lifestyles. I just like how they're using this Pokemon, like you said, in an endearing way to bring a life again to Pokemon. I mean, in the last couple of years, we had a lot of really good games come out for the series, and they just keep coming. I'm just excited to see kind of which twists and turns they're going to do with it. They've been making a lot of big changes with like Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, and I'm thinking they're going to do the same thing with Pokemon. I mean, they started just with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but I think they're going to keep making some big reveals, and I'm excited to see kind of where the series goes.
Me too. All right, well, with that, guys, we'll go ahead and wrap up. Hope you enjoyed our little discussion here. Go ahead and leave down below your thoughts and comments on if you know of any hidden origin or inspiration behind Meltan, what you think his typing is going to be, and whether or not he's going to affect the story. But if you like what you see here on our channel, consider subscribing. We do lots of different content, including Pokemon. In fact, my wife and I, Rin, is going to be doing a playthrough of Pokemon Let's Go Eevee when that comes out, and we'll be putting that up every day. That's the goal right now. And it's going to be her first time through Kanto, so I'm personally very excited since I played Pokemon Blue when that first came out, and I'm really looking forward to see Rin play through Kanto the first time since I love that region so much. And I'm really interested to see it in the really amazing environment that they've developed for Pokemon Let's Go. So,
and until then, make sure that you catch us on Fridays as well, because we're doing kind of a countdown until these Let's Go games come out. And so we're just doing some side games and some fun projects on the side. So check out those videos on Friday, and we have about 4 or 5 more weeks until Let's Go comes out. And so catch those videos and get hyped with us for those games.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time. My name is Archive.
I'm Kion.
And we'll see you next time on Experience Boost.
See you guys.